So guys, in today's video, I want to do something a little bit different. I'm probably going to ramble on for a long time, but if you're curious about China and you want to learn about China and you've never been, you might want to listen to this because there's a lot of interesting stuff in there that I didn't know. Like my wife is Chinese, and before I met her, I literally had no concept of China. I only knew the stuff that we read here in the newspapers, but it goes way beyond that. And I want to share my experience going to China many times, living in the families there. I want to share that with you guys because I think it really makes your view on China richer, and hopefully after you watch this video you can understand the culture and where people are coming from a bit more. I want to make it super clear in the beginning of the video that even I might say some positive stuff, even with disclaimers. I'm not shilling for the Chinese government. You know, there are a lot of people out there who are instantly, if someone says any positive thing about China, they're like, oh, he's paid by the government. I'm not paid by anyone. I'm just sharing my perception of China when I went there and I met the people. I want to tell those stories that I experienced, and I'm going to highlight the goods and the bads because they are both. And when it comes to the government, obviously what they're doing is terrible and non-defendable. They are a totalitarian terrorist regime, I would call them. You know, they make people disappear who have different opinions. They lock people away. There is no law in China. That is the problem. They have something against you, they will do whatever they want with you. There is no book of law. You can't get a lawyer and say, look, dude, I'm in the right. You're not in the right. In China, you will lose. If the government wants to get rid of you, you're gone. What they're doing to the Uyghurs is terrible. Obviously, we don't know the full scope of it. But there are so many things that this government is doing that is just not defendable. You know, there is just no way of looking at this in a positive way. However, one big thing that you have to realize when talking about China, when thinking about China, is the government is not the people. Those are two different things. There is the political entity China, which is highly questionable and does horrible things. And then there is the people of China, which are friendly, which are welcoming, which are lovely people. Okay, they are open-minded. But when it comes to politics, you don't talk about politics in China. It's just something that you can't change, so everybody acknowledges that it's better to just not talk about it, basically. So people don't talk about politics. They might talk about what you saw on TV, where they say, hey, we've just destroyed this massive nest of corruption and now everybody's better. Then they talk about politics. But you would never, as a Chinese, talk about a policy. Say, I don't like this policy they introduced, or I don't like this particular politician, Stuff like that you don't say because you can't change it. So that's the end of that. But that doesn't mean that people approve of all policies. It just means they have no power to change it. There is debate. If you are on a table and everybody had 2 or 3 beers, and then maybe I'm asking a few questions about politics, kind of encouraging a debate, then people come out of the woodworks and they do often say, look, I know there are these problems and we know this is not good and that is not good. On the other hand, that doesn't mean that everyone hates the government. There are critical voices. Like I said, after a few beer, and if I encourage a debate, you hear critical voices. But at the same time, people see extreme money being put into their cities. For example, I come back every 3-4 years to Xi'an, where my wife is from. And every time I come back, this city, and it's not a first-tier city, it's a second-tier city in China. Every time I come back, this city has changed dramatically. The streets are cleaner, the streets are wider, they are done better, the city is just decorated like crazy, new high buildings, beautiful buildings, new shopping malls. The city is constantly changing for seemingly the better, okay? So if you live there, you're going to be like, well, dude, look, I've just got a new shopping mall, I can't afford a new car, I made 100K last year, I have a huge apartment with an amazing view, they just built a giant park in front of my door. Why am I complaining about the government? So that is a lot of the mindset that I've seen. And it's true. They are doing a lot. It's not like in other countries where you feel that the government is just pocketing everything they get and kind of funnel it out of the country. I'm sure they're doing that a lot in China, don't get me wrong. But you see money coming back to the cities you live in. The places get better. The life standards get higher. More opportunity. It is a bit like the feeling of the American dream that America had in the 50s, 60s, maybe 70s a bit still, but where you felt you could do anything, right? You could come from being extremely poor and make it to become a millionaire. And that's the feeling that China has at the moment. The economy seems to allow for that. There are these examples of people like becoming infinitely rich just because they were at the right time at the right place. So in conclusion, I think the key point is here, don't confuse the Chinese government with the Chinese people. The Chinese people are exceptions, but they are lovely people, they are friendly people. They are not that unlike you and me in many regards. You know what I mean? They laugh about the same things. It's very similar because people always try to, I feel, make China look so different from us, or we've got nothing in common with these communists. It's like, no, we're actually very similar. We're very similar people. Just we're living in a cultural framework that's significantly different. And I briefly mentioned it already, but the people of China are extremely eager to work. You know, here in the West, in London, all my friends are like, you know, mate, I want to work only 4 days a week. I want more private life. You know, I want to express myself, do things I like. I want to work less. In China, people are like, I want to work more. And I'm already working 7 days a week. But if I could work more, I would work more because I'm making money. I grow my business. My family makes money. We are now in a much better place than we were 10 years ago. So I love working. Working is the key to getting us out of this mess that we used to be in. That is the mindset in China. And you can imagine a country that is run with that mindset operates very differently in terms of efficiency to a country that's run with the mindset I described before. People are eager to achieve something, to make a difference, and not only for themselves, but also for China. There is this, you know, impregnated and indoctrinized, I nearly want to say, mindset of people believing they are part of something bigger, something greater, which is China. And people genuinely believe that, and people genuinely work towards that. And that leads to incredible projects. Like, for example, I took a train from Xi'an to Chengdu or something. It took 12 hours through the night before. It was an extremely slow train. You come in a room in this train, you have bunk beds. I think it was 3 bunk beds stacked on each side. And you just sleep with strangers in that train. I'll see if I can find the footage, probably not. But it was quite an experience, let me tell you. The toilet on that train, holy smokes. You know, in China, they don't have the regular toilet bowls you sit on. They just have these holes in the ground. And I struggle with that already, using that toilet. But you go into this toilet in the train, and it's just full with liquid. And I don't need to tell you what the liquid is. And as the train moves, it's just like swapping left and right and going over the edges of the toilet. And you're standing there and you really have to go to the toilet and you're like, this is not good. This is not good. I don't remember what I did. Probably my memory suppressed it now. Like, it doesn't want me to remember what exactly happened in that toilet. It was bad. But anyway, so I take this train, takes 12 hours, you sleep through the night, arrive in your destination. 4 years or 3 years later, you come back. They've built a completely new train track. The same train now takes 3 hours, okay? It's a fast bullet train, goes through mountains, is extremely clean, extremely fast. Not only have they built a whole train track that cut that journey like by 2/3, also they've built a new train station at the end of each side of that train track. And that train station is not like, you know, a small train station. It's more like an airport, okay? And the build quality is not that you're like, oh, it's made in China, shit. No, dude, it's built properly. It might not have the extreme engineering standards that you see in, I don't know, Frankfurt Airport, but it's at a very high standard. Nothing feels cheap. You know, there are malls and shopping. It feels like an airport. And they stomped this stuff out of the ground in a few years. And you see that progress, and you come back to England or Germany, and you're like, dude, they're building for what, like 12 years on an airport in Germany now? It's still not open? You know, like the amount of progress, and I understand you can throw arguments against the progress in China. You can say, I don't want to know how many people died building those train tracks, because they're basically reckless, right? They're just like, well, you know, if they die, they die. Send them in, 3 died, all right, what can we do? At least we moved forward very fast. Horrible, okay? Again, brings in the politics, horrible attitude. I can't support that. But I'm thinking, between the stagnation that we experience in the West, right, where we've kind of over-bureaucratized processes, and it's just stagnating. Nothing happens anymore, really. There is no adaptation to change in the West, very little. And the extreme fast-paced rapid movement that you see in China everywhere, the extreme fast pace, probably at the cost of human life, could be reduced. You know, don't risk the human life, but try to keep the pace on. Maybe there is a middle ground between the fast-moving, adapting culture in China, where change happens and tomorrow they are adapted, and the stagnation culture in the West. There must be a middle ground. And it's concerning for me as someone who lives in the West to see that rapid pace and the joy and the motivation that China is approaching these challenges with. Because it will ultimately lead to a culture that will outrun us. And they do it with a smile, while we are here like, oh, I don't want to work more. Their people are going to do it with a smile to achieve all these things, which ultimately puts China on the top of the economic list in the world. And since people already have this kind of mindset of living in kind of an American dream world of opportunities, you kind of see that everywhere. Not only in how the cities change, it's also how, for example, how people celebrate. I went to a Chinese wedding. Let me tell you about that. Absolutely crazy. So I'm not going to say who got married, people very close to my wife's family. So we're going in, they rented, and they are very wealthy, okay? They are a wealthy family. So what they did is they rented an event hall. It's huge. It was built for the Olympics in Beijing. So they go into this event hall, massive hall. You come in. What happens first is at the entrance you have tables on each side, okay? Behind the tables are elderly Chinese ladies. What you do is you go to this table and you give them a red envelope, which is your gift to the bride and groom. It's money. You give them this gift. They open it in front of you. So it's not the bride and groom who open it, right? You give it to these ladies. They open it. They take out the money, count it in front of you, how much you gave as a gift, and write it in a book with everyone else. So you can see, he gave a lot, he didn't give that. So you have a book where all the donations, so to say, are noted in. Like, it's crazy. So then you go in, it's a massive hall, everywhere round tables. I'm guessing there must have been 1,500 people at that wedding. The guy that got married at the time, you know, he was big up in a company, so he had to invite everyone who's even remotely related to this company. Everybody was there. But obviously you realize quite quickly that it's a calculation. The more people you invite and the bigger you scale the event up, the more money you make at the entrance and the more money effectively you return from this event, right? So it's not that he loves all these people and wants them to be at their wedding. He wants to make a nice profit of his wedding. So fair, fair enough, not judging. I was the only Western guy at this wedding. It's just Chinese people. Like I said, more than 1,000 of them. And it felt like everybody wanted to have a drink with me. Obviously, everyone's like, hey, so I got so drunk. It was bad. It was nasty because they drink tough liquor in China. Mongolian liquor? Holy smokes. Those guys can drink. But overall, great experience. But what happened is it's not like a wedding in a church, right? It's not, because it's an event space. And in the front of the event space, you have a stage with a massive screen behind it. And cameras on arms, those cameras that they use in like Hollywood productions when they're on long arms and they fly over crowds. They had one of those, okay? So the whole thing is designed like a TV show. You have a TV host who's actually the ceremonial master. He's going to be the person who marries them. There's no priest. And he is like a TV host. He's like, hey guys, what's going on? We're going to marry this couple, and now we're watching a movie about them. And then you see like a little romantic movie that he cut for her. And then a cut from the movie, he's in the middle of the space singing to her with a spotlight on him. And he slowly walks to the stage, to pick her up. And it's very theatrical. It's extremely disturbing if you're used to the idea of like a traditional marriage. But it was an incredible experience. But you see what I mean? Like they're scaling this up. You're not driving with your car to this wedding. You're driving with 15 BMWs, to this wedding. That's what they did. So you're living la vida loca because you're living the Chinese dream, the American dream. You know what I mean? That's the attitude that some of these people have. Another point to mention that really is like money. Okay, the importance of money in China it's incredible. I feel that it shifted a bit. It used to be family that was at the core of every decision that Chinese people make. Okay, like family. Oh, you got a business opportunity in Shanghai, you would make $1 million a year. No, your auntie is ill, you have to stay here. There is no discussion. Family sits above everything. That's what it used to be. And family still is very important in China. However, slowly money creeps into this equation. And I feel at this point, money sits above family in China. Money is their god, okay? Making money, turning around money, being better than others. That is the ultimate measure of success. I mean, it is everywhere, admittedly, but it's extreme in China because they've seen the poverty, right? You have to understand, 30, 40 years ago, China was a completely different country. I don't want to say fully a third world country, but a completely different country. And they've come from poverty and not having enough food, only having meat once a month, to extreme excess. Right now, there's too much of everything, and everything is just growing and getting better. So they are in this rush of growth in the middle of it. And it's very, very fascinating to observe. And that doesn't mean, very important, that everybody's life standard in China has been lifted. Probably it has been to an extent. Even on the countryside, you felt the effects of the growth in the cities. But if you drive out of Beijing for 10 minutes, I'm not joking, you're in a third world country. People living in little brick huts, 5 square meter brick huts, and carrying water and sticks in buckets on their shoulders. Okay, that's what you see. So the contrast of the countryside to the cities could not be bigger. It's and you can't always say, oh, but the cities are so nice. It's a bubble. You're living in a bubble. If you just see the cities, if you're just in Beijing or Shanghai, you're gonna feel like you're in Korea or some kind of future nation, but you're not. You're just in a bubble of future in the middle of a third world country. Okay, so you have to realize that. But nonetheless, that doesn't diminish the achievements in growth, right? How the cities improved, how train tracks, infrastructure, how everything improves constantly. There are two sides to it. That's what I'm saying. And too many people are falling too easy for the negatives. And it's like everything is horrible, horrible, horrible. No, yes, there are a lot of horrible things, but there are things that we can learn, okay? We can look at this country, see how they do certain things, and adapt them for ourselves. And that's not going to happen by just judging China and hating China and even being scared about China. I think a lot of people are scared of China because they don't understand. But having seen the growth that happens in China, I'm not saying being scared is not justified, because, they're coming and they're fast and they're very efficient and very eager to grow and to make money, while over here, nobody really is. The average worker has kind of given up. Everybody hates their job. Nobody wants to go to work or even work more. People feel treated horribly by their employees. That's indeed a scary aspect of this that is not to be underestimated. And I can absolutely see this escalating, right? Because at some point, China will be starting to scratch on, for example, America's #1 position, if they have not already kind of taken it. But anyway, it will happen. And to kind of give that pole position away for a country like the US, I'm not sure how easy they'll take. But anyway, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, this video is already way too long. I don't know how long I've been rambling on. But I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed it a little bit. If you did, if you have any questions about China, I'm not sure I can answer them. Again, I'm not like the #1 resource on China. I just wanted to share my experience. But if you have questions, down in the comment section below, while you're there, smash the like button, which is, look, I'm pointing exactly at it. It's right there. How I know my like, that's probably not. But anyway, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know what you think about the video. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, then let me know. I'll do more videos like this, because there are way, way, way more stories that I can tell from China. I just don't want to put it all in one video and bore you guys to death. So let me know questions, thoughts on the format, on the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. I'm out. Bye.